Hello, and welcome to episode 280 of the Casual Try Hard podcast. I'm Brian,
And I'm James.
and today we are going to do our kind of like set review, interesting cards from Modern Horizons 3, the Modern Rotation set.
As the modern turns.
Yes, as the modern
Like sands
turns.
in the hourglass. These are the cards of our lives.
Every 2 or 3 years, they have to like push out like another bit of historic Magic cards to replace them with pushed nonsense from a supplemental product.
Yeah, I was trying to find that tweet. I saw it earlier or like later last week and made a mental note that we should talk about it, and now I can't find it. But yeah, there was like a whole list circulating the internet about how like all of these cards were force rotated and basically are unplayable in the format now.
Yeah, it was something to the effect of like there's like a dead spot in like Magic like history from like I saw from like 2012 to 2018.
Yeah.
Where like some of the like earlier cards, because like Modern goes back to what, 2010, 2008, something like
2008,
that.
I think.
Yeah. So like you have like the nonsensical cards that were like printed then that like they're never gonna make an analog for,
Right.
because they're just like oppressive and miserable.
Yep.
Right. And then you have like Modern Horizons is 2018. But like from 2012, where you kind of like passed most of the nonsense,
Yep,
to like 2018, it's just like, yeah, like a huge chunk of these cards are just not playable anymore because they've just been forced out, and it's kind of funny.
Yeah, just unplayable.
Yeah, like, and there's a few cards that pop up, but again, they're the ones that are like completely and like totally utter nonsense.
Right.
But even them, like oh, like Mirror Enforcer. It's like, yeah, we've given you like 2 better Mirror Enforcers.
Yeah.
Frogmite. Well, we gave you a Frogmite Mirror Enforcer split card.
That's for later in the episode.
So, like, but it's just like, oh yeah, like you get like Stoneforge,
yeah,
maybe Batterskull, but not really,
right?
And then
Cauldron Complete says
nothing.
hold my beer.
Yeah, exactly. And then like a whole bunch of nothing. So it's just funny, like that history of Magic has kind of just
trying
like
to think,
gone away.
Like Thoughtseize
is still there, like Thoughtseize, Stoneforge, like really not Lily.
Yeah.
I guess Ponder's from 2012.
Okay.
Well, no, Ponder's not unbanned. Preordain is. I don't know when Preordain's from.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Preordain. And yeah, like Mishra's Bauble.
Yeah.
Right? Like in like everything else, like think about like, or again, like Violent Outbursts, like one of the Cascades cards, like
right.
Nonsense Mechanic, that is now good because they printed Nonsense Modern Horizons card.
Right.
Though speaking of nonsense, they didn't have like a cycle of suspend cards this time.
They did not.
Which is weird.
It is weird.
We had been conditioned to get a cycle of suspend cards.
Where's my suspend cards?
Exactly. Where is my like 1 to 2 playable suspend cards?
Yep. Maybe they didn't want to give the deck any more toys.
Perhaps not. Anyway. So this week and next week we're probably gonna do Modern Horizon stuff. So if you have any ideas for shows or topics you want us to cover or cards you want us to cover, please reach out to us on social media. Facebook, Discord, artist formerly known as Twitter, email. All those links are in the description. Reach out, say hey, help program your show.
Yeah, hit us up. We'd appreciate it. If you want to support the show, a couple ways you can do it. The first is with our TCG player affiliate link, CasualTryHard.com/TCG. Surf on over there, do your shopping, support the show at the same time. Doesn't cost you guys anything extra and really helps us out. We would appreciate it. If you want to support us more directly, Patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG is where you can do that. Going over there, chip a couple bucks in, you get access to the pre-show, you get access to our show notes, and you get to support the show. Feel good about yourself and make us feel good for making you feel good. something.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG. Thanks.
Sounds good. All right, so we're gonna just start with white and kind of work our way through.
Mm-hmm. Like we normally
see
do.
how far we get. Yep, see how far we get.
Yep.
So first up, we have Guide of Souls. It is a white for a 1/2 human cleric. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life and energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever you attack, you may pay 3 energy. And when you do, put 2 +1/+1 counters and a flying counter on target creature you control. It becomes an angel in addition to its other types.
So this is kind of weird because like that second ability sounds good and I'm sure it's going to be relevant, but I think the deck that you play Guide of Souls in, like that's not what you're looking to do.
No. Like I think on one hand you could read this as like maybe they were trying to make a Soul Sister to like make Soul Sisters reasonable.
Well, I mean this is just strictly better Soul Sister.
Uh
well, it's not, I guess it's not any creature, so
yeah, so like there's do they play like there's Soul Warden, which is both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Is the one from Zendikar just your creatures, or is it still both? I think it's just your creatures.
I think all of the rest of them are just your creatures. I think
So like
Soul Warden's the only one that's
both.
Yeah.
So like the fact that this has 2 toughness is like a huge deal.
Mm-hmm. Can't get full mastered.
Yeah, there's no downside to getting energy.
Right.
Right. There's no like if you get an energy, you lose a life card.
Yep.
So like that's just gravy. So like if it's for like a Soul Sistery deck, fine, it's a better Soul Sister and like, you know, is it Sarah Avatar?
Mm-hmm.
So like, you know, you get to make anything a Sarah Avatar basically.
Yep.
And like bring the beat, so like yay. But like I put this card on here for another because of how it pairs with another card later on, Primal Prayers.
Yep.
Which
we'll talk more about that when we get there,
but it makes like the energy makes like makes it so you can combo someone out on the spot with this card and like one other card.
Yeah, and I mean I'm not super as up with Modern as I have been in the past, but I don't even think like that's the only direction you can go with energy.
No,
like
especially
I mean, there's enough
now.
Powerful stuff to do with energy that like I don't even think you need to have combo potential there. You can just play, energy cards and win the game.
Yeah, and like I think like Aetherworks Marvel might be like back on the menu.
Could be
because there's enough. Because we'll talk about some other cards that like just like kind of work, and you don't have to play like garbage.
Yeah,
you can play like actual real cards,
actual real Magic cards. Like they used to play the puzzle knots, right? You probably don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, you can get to 6 energy by just like playing like regular non-garbage cards.
No, I think something along the lines of, and again we can talk about some of this stuff later on with the other card, but like Rogue Refiner and Long Tusk Cub, I think are still reasonable Magic cards if you're playing any sort of energy shenanigans.
Yeah, like they're still fine.
Yeah.
When I was going through my cards, I don't think I sold any energy cards.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't think I got rid of any energy commons and uncommons. Because I was like, let's just wait and see.
Let's see.
Just like I didn't get rid of any of my Eldrazi. I was like, let's see if there's anything in here that's like going to make one of these broken.
Yep.
All right, so what's our next one?
The next one we have is Jolted Awake. And again, I'm not, super tuned in as much as I once was, but I haven't really heard anybody talking about this card. And I think it's kind of cool. Jolted Awake is a white mana for a sorcery. Choose up to 1 target artifact or creature card in your graveyard. You get 2 energy. Then you may pay an amount of energy equal to that card's mana value. If you do, return it from your graveyard to the battlefield. And it cycles for 2 mana.
For reasons. I mean, if you can like generate I don't think it's gonna be hard to generate energy.
Mm-hmm.
And like you could have a situation where you generate, 6 energy.
Oh yeah.
By turn 3, and then you're just like faithful mending.
Mm-hmm.
Play like you get to 4 energy by the end of turn 2. Faithful mending, jolted awake, have 6 energy, put a 6-drop into play.
Yep.
Like that seems reasonable. The problem is a lot of the cards that you want to play or you want to reanimate are 7.
Yeah.
Right, like Atraxa, Grizzlebrand.
Mm-hmm.
But like there is an Esper Reanimator deck.
Mm-hmm.
If you can figure out a way to like get energy into it, it seems like it would be like pretty easy to have a 1 mana reanimation spell.
Yeah, I mean that was my. So I had 2 thoughts about this card, and that was the first one, that this is just reanimate that you're paying energy for instead of life. Now, life is a resource that you start the game with, so like you have to manage it, but you don't have to accumulate it. Energy is a resource that you have to accumulate, but you don't lose the game if you run out of.
Yeah.
But also, I know you played energy for a little bit, and I played a few different energy decks for a little bit. And like, how many games did you have where you just had like 12 energy laying around?
A bunch.
Yeah,
Like it was really
like
easy to just accumulate energy.
yeah, not necessarily looking to like turbo ramp into it on turn 3, but like if you had 9 energy on turn 5, like that's way not out of the question.
Yeah, it would not be a big deal at all. And then being able to like even something as dumb as like grief, bring back grief with this.
Yeah,
On like,
for sure.
On like an early turn. Like
Yep.
you turn 1, you grief, turn 2, you like play a tune with Aether.
Mm-hmm.
And then you play this and you bring back your grief.
So like that's kind of the second place that my mind went, not necessarily with grief, but your comparison to Attune with Aether. Attune with Aether in the old energy decks was like the card that held it all together. It was 1 mana, you got 2 energy, it replaced itself by going to get a basic. We're going to talk about another card, the blue version of that, here in a little bit. I think this is just the white version of that, though. It's
just
a mana, you get 2 energy, and then, I mean, if you don't need a card back from your graveyard, you just get 2 energy to fuel whatever you're doing. You know, if you need your Guide of Souls, your energy positive on that exchange.
Mm-hmm.
And if none of the above apply, this thing just cycles away.
Yeah, it's like Unearth.
Yeah.
Right, like I hadn't like just realized till just now, like Unearth gets a 3-drop back and has cycling 2 for a black.
Yep.
This gets minimum a 2-drop back.
Yep.
Right, you're guaranteed a 2-drop, cycles away. But then, unlike Unearth, if you like do some deck building, do some work, it just gets anything back.
Right.
So like it's kind of its floor is maybe a little bit lower than just like Unearth.
Mm-hmm.
But like its floor is like
Pretty
Unearth
close,
ceiling. Though. Yeah, but Unearth ceiling isn't nearly as high.
Oh, no, nowhere near
like,
as
yeah,
high.
like
You can't even see the ceiling with this thing. It's so high.
Yeah, it's 1 mana get an Atraxa.
Right.
As opposed to 1 mana only ever get a 3-drop.
Yep.
So, and I mean, it's a common. Like, is it gonna be like some like? There's a lot of energy cards that are common. Is there gonna be like some like wonky reanimator deck in like Pauper or something that's like
Maybe
some energy deck?
Could be Bant energy.
Yeah.
We will see.
Or Jeskai.
Could be Jeskai. Yep.
All right. So
moving on. I told you I'm doing this different this time. There we go. Yeah. We have Ocelot Pride. This is 1 mana for a 1/1 cat. It has First Strike and Lifelink, and it has Ascend. So if you remember back to our mechanics episode, things with Ascend care about having 10 or more permanents. If you do, you get the City's Blessing. Once you get the City's Blessing, you don't ever lose it, and then the card will care about you having the City's Blessing. So this says at the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, create a 1/1 cat token. Then, if you have the City's Blessing for each token you control that entered the battlefield this turn, create a token that's a copy of it.
Yes. A lot of people are talking about this card, about how like great it is and how powerful it is. it's one of the top 20 or 25 cards in the set or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not as good as Ragavan. And, like, Ragavan's kind of unplayable because of Bowmasters now.
Yeah.
I mean, it does have first strike.
So it beats a Ragavan.
It beats a Ragavan. It beats the token from... It at least beats the token from Bowmasters.
Yep.
It just has to stay out and, like, hit a bunch. And, like, you know, a 1/1 cat, like, the 1/1 token you get from, like, a young Pyromancer does not have the same value as it did 10 years ago or 6 years ago.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a reason that Bitter Blossom doesn't see play anymore.
Right? Like, this is like a Bitter Blossom that gets fatal pushed. Right? It has to get in, right? Like, you're on the draw, you play this, and your opponent plays a Territorial Kavu.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you just wasted, like, a piece of cardboard.
Yeah,
Like,
I think there's a specific use case for this that I would like to talk about later in the episode. But I agree with you to an extent. I think that the first place my mind went with this card is if you have the City's Blessing. You know, you make a treasure and a clue and a cat, and then you get an extra treasure and a clue and a cat or whatever. Okay. But I don't know how feasible getting the City's Blessing is in Modern at the moment.
So, like, there are the, what are they called? Words are hard. The, like, cookbook decks, the Asmo decks.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, they, like, I've heard people talking about, like, in, like, an Asmo deck, like, you could probably get the City's Blessing pretty easily if you're, like, you know, land, cookbook, discard, an Oval Chase Daredevil, get back the Daredevil, and get the food. You've got 3 permanents on the battlefield at the end of turn 1.
Yeah.
And then you, like, do it again, or, like, do some, like, cycle of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can get to the City's Blessing relatively quickly. So maybe, like, using it as, like, just a way to get a whole bunch of material.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I think the fair case is not, like, reasonable.
I think there's a specific use case, and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Maybe not today, but at the end of this series. Someday we'll talk about it.
All right. Next up, I have the conspiracy version of these.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm glad I didn't sell them, or maybe I should have sold them. This is Recruiter of the Guard, 2 and a white for a 1/1 human soldier.
Mm-hmm.
When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a creature card with toughness 2 or less, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a 3-drop that replaces itself, and, like, more importantly, it, like, kind of allows you to assemble combo pieces or find specific, like, hate bears. Now, you are limited to toughness 2 or less, but, like, most hate bears
or 2/2s
meet that requirement. Yeah.
I mean, the other use case is finding combo pieces.
Mm-hmm. That was where my head was.
Yeah. That's where my head was as well. I'm not sure that hate bears is a thing, or is going to be a thing because Recruiter of the Guard exists in Modern.
No, I don't think so, but
maybe in some other universe.
Maybe where there was no Modern Horizons 2 or Modern Horizons 1.
That's right. I mean, this does go get a Cat Jesus that's unplayable currently.
It does.
Yep.
It does. Thalia is still kind of playable a little bit, maybe, if you squint. So it just eats it to Bowmasters and Ren and 6.
Yep.
But so, like, I was thinking about more of, and we'll talk about it a little bit later again with our whatever soul Guide of Souls, right? This gets Guide of Souls.
It does.
The problem is all the combos I'm thinking of, this card only gets 1/2 of the combo.
Yeah.
It doesn't get both. But it gets Guide of Souls. It also gets Somalia.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about how those two cards might go in the same deck.
Yep. This
Which
also goes to get a card that is not in my list here, so we can probably talk about it now. It's in this set, but didn't make the list. It's one of, I don't want to call it one of my pet cards, but it's a card that I used to like when I was a kid and is still relevant, and that's Shrieking Drake.
Oh, yeah.
The blue mana for a 1/1, and when it ETBs, you bounce a creature you control.
Mm-hmm.
This goes to get that, which then you can bounce your Recruiter of the Guard and recast it and get something else.
Mm-hmm.
Another Shrieking Drake, bounce your Recruiter of the Guard again.
Or if you're perhaps casting them for free, you just get infinite ETB or infinite Storm.
Yes.
And then do Shenanigans. Whatever shenanigan that might be.
Chatterstorm.
Chatterstorm. Grape Shot.
Oh, come on, Chatterstorm's way more fun than Grape Shot is.
It does involve squirrel, so objectively you are correct.
It does not involve fruit.
Does not involve fruit. So yeah. I think it will perhaps make some of those better. I guess it can get Devoted Druid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it could get Devoted Druid, it could get Vizier, and it could get Walking Ballista.
Yep.
So it can get each piece of that combo.
Yep.
So that's pretty alright. It can get Spike Feeder, but it can't get Heliod.
Yeah.
So, but maybe in a Walking Ballista Devoted Druid deck, but that's hard just because you gotta untap with thing.
Yeah.
But this will open up a lot of different things to do, and will probably allow some different non-Yawgmoth creature combo deck to exist.
Yep.
Right, where now you basically have Yawgmoth as your kind of default only creature combo deck.
Right.
On to blue.
We got a big boy right off the rip.
This
is a Kappa Cannoneer. 5 and a blue for a 4/4 Turtle Warrior artifact creature. It has Improvise, which means you can tap artifacts to help cast the spell. It has Ward 4, so you're never going to target it. And whenever Kappa Cannoneer or another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Kappa Cannoneer, and it can't be blocked this turn.
So it effectively is a 5/5.
Yeah.
So you have as of a few weeks ago, one of the hottest decks in Modern was Simulacrum Synthesizer. And Oops, all Mirror Enforcers. Right, where you're just pooping out constructs, but these constructs, they have no evasion.
Right.
Your boy Kappa Cannoneer has evasion.
It does.
And it's a Simulacrum Synthesizer is an ETB trigger.
It is.
So this comes down, gets 2 counters, is an enormous.
Yep.
And then the next turn you play anything. It gets multiple counters again, more than likely.
Yep.
And you then beat face.
Yep.
I think that you could maybe think about playing a Lava Spur Boots.
Okay.
Right, a game where you're Lava Spur Boots early to help with improvise or affinity cost, and then you play this. It's a 5/5. You put boots on it. You attack for 6. It has Ward 5.
Yeah.
And then your whole deck just triggers. Put a counter on this. Make me unblockable. I I'm unsure how you lose from that position. Right?
Yeah, probably not.
And your Lava Spur Boots is a mana dork.
Yep.
Right? So, I think this card is really good. I heard people talking about like, so like you want to play like the big affinity things, and then you want to play this, and you want those big affinity things to be colorless so you can feed them to Ugin's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
And so like but you can't end up with a deck that has like 16 cards that cost, or 20 cards that cost 7 mana.
Right.
So like there's probably going to be some fine line there, but I don't know, like it's been working with some worse cards in spots.
For sure.
So now they did print like an answer to this nonsense.
Yeah.
Into Modern, they printed Meltdown.
Yeah, that is not on my list, so we can talk about that now if you want to.
Yeah, so Meltdown is X and a red for a sorcery. Destroy all artifacts with mana cost X or less.
Mm-hmm.
So like you like dump out a whole bunch of constructs from your simulacrum synthesizer, and then they're just like red, kill them all.
Yeah, or 3 and a red and take the synthesizer with it.
Yeah, but like if you use all those artifacts to pay for your Kappa Cannoneer,
right?
Like they're not gonna have 5 in a red, destroy everything in your Kappa Cannoneer.
6 in a red.
Is it 6? Oh yeah, 6 in a red. Gosh, reading's fundamental. Math is hard. So 6 in a red. They're not gonna have that to like blow up your Kappa Cannoneer, and like they're not lightning axing it ever. So like if you can use like this kind of is like almost feels like insurance, where like, hey, you get some stuff out, you get one of these down early, they can't really interact with it.
Yeah, what's that removal spell that is uncounterable? Like that gets around ward.
It's Long Goodbye, but I think it's like 3 mana or less.
Oh, okay.
I think. Looking. Let's see, my internet wants to work. I think it's 3 mana or less. Yes, can't be countered. Destroy target creature or planeswalker with mana value 3 or less.
Okay.
Rending Volley would work, like in response to the trigger.
To the counter, yeah.
So like, there is some interplay, but like very specific, very niche.
Right.
And like,
it'd be tough to justify it in a deck.
Yeah, like if the format gets like super like Kappa Cannoneer centric, right, or like then maybe everyone's like playing a Braid main deck, and then Rending Volleys in the side, right? If you're like, I can't lose to like a bunch of 3 mana artifacts, but that seems a little extreme in a format that's also going to have like Tron, and just giant aggro Eldrazi idiots.
Yep, so, which is like, probably going to be a thing to some extent.
Yeah, which it kind of seems like can't really like load up for affinity when then I'm just going to get like smashed by Soulland.deck in Modern.
Right.
But yeah, like this card I think is like it was really good in Legacy when for like that the time where it like kind of first came out
before Murktide.
Yeah, was it before Murktide?
Yeah, I think like not that they were in the same deck, but the Murktide decks kind of replaced these decks.
Like the blue, the like mono blue artifact decks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it was really good for like a pretty long time. So it'll probably be good just based on how good those the synthesizer decks were for, I guess, like a month.
Right.
Time it's will so tell. Wild, like how fast things change in all these formats now.
Yeah.
All right. What's this next one do?
This is one that I have heard actual 0 people talking about, but I thought was a cool card. And this is Shadow of the Second Sun. Not that I'm ever going to cast it, because there's blue in the casting cost, but Shadow of the Second Sun is 4 blue for an aura. It enchants a player. And at the beginning of enchanted player's post-combat main phase, there is an additional beginning phase after this phase. In case you don't know, the beginning phase contains the untap, upkeep, and draw steps. So because this happens at the beginning, or at the beginning of the... Oh no, that doesn't work.
It triggers at the beginning of the post-combat main phase.
Yeah.
But I think the new beginning phase happens between end step.
And second main.
Between second main and end step.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's kind of like a wilderness reclamation that you also have a Howling Mine on.
Right. One-sided Howling Mine.
On one side of Howling Mine. And I guess if you have any like upkeep shenanigans.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of upkeep shenanigans there are.
I mean,
other than like suspend cards.
Suspend cards
that you're like actually suspending for some reason.
Yeah. Or like, any kind of beneficial upkeep trigger.
Yeah.
Like a Dark Confidant.
Yep.
Beneficial.
Braid of Fire.
Card. Braid of Fire, yeah. Cumulative upkeep, red.
That's right.
Empty my mana pool. Go. Yeah, like it seems slow for Modern.
Well, I mean, if you're paying 6 mana for it, sure. But I mean, there's ways to cheat things.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you could make a copy of it for 2 green.
You sure can.
If you couldn't find your Omniscience.
We'll get there. There's also, multiple cards that make auras cheaper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess the fact that it's an aura, like you could like kind of cheat it that way as well.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's all the timing is awkward that it happens at the end of the post-combat main phase, because then you're limited to wilderness wreck shenanigans, but without being able to float mana.
Yeah, like you would have to tap out, do a thing, and then untap so you're not shields down, but you can't in response to going to my beginning of turn phase, float my mana.
Right.
Like that would not work.
No. But this is also all of the resource generation for your turn.
Mm-hmm.
So you get all of your mana back and you get a card every turn. So that's I don't know, what percentage of a turn is that? In the deck that's going to do this, the deck that does this probably doesn't value the combat step that much.
Yeah.
And it certainly doesn't value the end step. So what percentage of a turn is the beginning phase and what percentage of turn are your 2 main phases?
And in almost like a control deck or something. Probably 70%.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
And you get that every turn?
Yeah, you get an extra 3/4 of a turn.
Yeah.
But is just Teferi Hero of Dominaria better? Right, it gives you the draw. It gives you some of the mana back. Right,
yeah,
you don't
maybe
get the whole thing. What it really seems to me is you need some additional way to generate resources during your upkeep.
Mm.
Right, if you had something each upkeep draw a card.
Yeah.
Or each upkeep deal 2 damage to your opponent.
Yeah.
Right, then you play this, then you're doubling that effect as well.
Well, I mean, you get to draw a whole bunch of cards with 1 ring.
Oh, because it untaps?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. And it's until your next turn. So you're not starting another turn.
Right.
So you could respond to the trigger to put an extra counter on it. And then you would take no damage because you would have protection from everything. because it's not your turn again.
It's true.
It's never left your turn. So like that, the first 3 cards you get off the One Ring
are
just free.
Yeah.
Okay, that could be a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, you sold me on One Ringing people.
Yeah, I mean that's like a ton of mana investment, but
I mean, on turn 4 you run One Ring. Turn 5 you like draw an extra card, and you draw an extra card.
Mm-hmm.
Turn 5 you draw an extra card, play like make sure you hit your land drop. Turn 6 you play this, untap, draw a bajillion cards, and take no damage off of it.
Well, no, because the one ring would already be in play.
Oh yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
Oopsie.
This would have to come down before the
10 mana. Yeah, I see. So yeah, this then the One Ring. Fair.
Yeah, and I don't know what other upkeep shenanigans there are.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Like the only mechanic that pops to mind is suspend, but like, I mean, there's better ways to do suspend shenanigans.
Yes, way better ways. So I'm not sure there what you would do.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just feels like drawing an extra card and getting your mana back might not be worth.
Well, I mean, there was a point in time where Wilderness Rex saw play in Modern.
Mm-hmm.
Tapping an extra card onto Wilderness Rex seems good, but
yeah. But like not getting to do the float stuff, you don't get to double you double your mana, but in a different way.
Right.
You double your mana and like you get 5, then you get 5 later.
Yeah, you get to double your mana, but you don't
10.
get to double your fun.
It's a good way of thinking of it, yeah. Let's see here. What cards care about the upkeep and are legal in Modern?
Oh, that's going to be a big list, I'm sure.
I'm sure. 618. Okay. Yeah. I regret everything.
Yeah.
There you go. Assemble the Legion.
Okay.
As Foretold.
Oh, As Foretold. That's cute.
You could so you would get to cast you get extra counters on As Foretold to run it up.
Yeah.
You already mentioned Braid of Fire.
Yeah, Braid of Fire.
Bonehorde Dracosaur.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
Get so many things from Bonehorde Dracosaur.
I mean, that doesn't work super well, though. You only ever get the token, right? You don't ever get the card.
Oh, okay, so you exile. Yeah, it would have to be an instant. Yeah. Just like scrolling, yeah, nothing's like jumping up like, oh man. If I got to do this twice,
yeah,
that'd be so good.
You get like extra counters on your replicating ring and your the blue thing.
Midnight Clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know your blue thing.
The blue thing. Hey, I knew exactly what you meant. I guess you could get a bunch of dragons off of Dragon Master Outcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's a thing.
That dies to Bowmaster.
It dies to Bow. Yeah, I don't think that this card is going to make that unplayable 1/1 playable. But the person who spec'd on 1,000 of them can hope. Not I mean, me,
it also
but some other person.
Just this card makes Bowmaster really good, though.
Oh yeah, because you draw 2 cards a turn. Oh geez, take 1, make my thing bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so maybe it's not as good as I thought it was. Oh, Coma's cute.
You can get beginning of each upkeep, so you can get like an extra trigger off of it.
Yeah.
Let me play my 6-drop so I can ramp into my 7-drop and get an extra 3/3. We did it, baby. Yeah. I don't know if there's I am not going to be able to process 618 different things. But
no, we can move on. But my point was this card is interesting, and there's like extra layers to it that I don't think are super apparent when you first read it. And like those are the cards that tend to pop off. So.
Mm-hmm.
So keep an eye out It's a cool card. The next one is pretty straightforward.
Yes. Tune the narrative.
Kind of a tune.
Yeah, blue for an instant. Draw a card. You get 2 energy.
Sounds familiar.
So I was watching a Doom Wake video, and he was explaining that like if you can get anywhere close to a card's worth of value out of the 2 energy, this card is blue. Draw 2 cards.
Yes.
And that was the argument I was making in Discord of like why is energy busted.
Right.
It's all about kind of like how it's costed on the card. This has no cost on it. Like blue draw card is kind of the rate.
Yep.
Maybe a little bit low.
So
because you don't,
like 3 energy is a card.
Yes. So this is like 2/3 of a card.
Yeah.
And like this is gonna let you to enable an energy shenanigans. Like, do you want to spin Marvel? Well, instead of having to play
Puzzle Knots,
right? You get to play like a tune the narrative, galvanic discharge, and like harness lightning, or whatever other energy cards they have in the set.
Jolted Awake.
And then you're just like, I play a card that is not embarrassing for 1 mana to get 2 energy. My next turn, I play 2 non-embarrassing cards. And like, Tune the Narrative is digging you to, like, your other, like, digging you to your reservoir, or digging you towards whatever other energy payoffs you have.
Yep.
So, like, you had mentioned Rogue Refiner. Like, Rogue Refiner's not a, like, modern playable card, but it's also not that bad. Right? Like, it's, like, not an embarrassing card. Like, a 3 mana 3/2 that draws you a card is pretty good. So...
What about a 3 mana 3/2 that draws you a card in 2/3?
Yeah, like, amazing.
Yeah.
So, right, like, you could, like, tune the narrative, do something else on 2, play Rogue Refiner, and then have your reservoir ready to spin on
Marvel.
your 4th turn. Or Marvel, sorry. Have your Marvel ready to... I've called it Reservoir multiple times. Have your Marvel ready to spin on your 4th turn, and then you, like, you know, that's just, like, you hope your Emeralds and your... and your other things. And then there's that, we don't have it on the list, that, like, new bad Brainstorm.
Yeah.
The draw 4, put 2 back for 3 mana. Right? Like with fetch lands and stuff, like, it's not terrible to be like, hey, I drew some of my fatties, I'm going to, like, put them back on top on turn 3. So now I know that when I play my Marvel, I know I'm going to hit something.
Yeah.
Because, like, you could be set up where you're, like, you know, you have 6 energy by the end of turn 2.
Definitely.
And then you're like, turn 3 is like, I'll play this as set up or whatever, then play my Marvel, and know that my top card is an Emrakul the Aeon Storm, and I'm going to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, if you, like, attune to go get a land drop on turn 1, and then tune the narrative, galvanic discharge on turn 2, Rogue Refiner on turn 3, like, you're above the threshold at that point. Like, even if you, like, killed a 1-drop or whatever with your discharge, like, you're above the threshold when you play your Marvel, and you didn't Marvel, like, do any work.
Yeah, you just got to play cards that you were, like, not upset to play.
Right.
And then you just are like, okay, like, you know, I have to hope that my top 6 are good.
Yeah.
Which sometimes they're not, speaking of experience.
Right.
But if they're good, like, you might just win the game on turn 4 on the spot. And if they're bad, maybe you get another turn to spin, but you've, like, kind of been interacting and putting stuff on the board.
Right.
Like, you didn't go puzzle knot, crack puzzle knot. Please don't kill me.
Definitely.
Right. You went, like, removal spell, card draw spell.
Yeah.
like get a land drop, play a blocker.
Yep.
Like that's not like embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also like again, if we're teamer, there's Amped Raptor, which we're gonna talk about.
Yep.
So there's like plenty of things to do.
Yep.
That are like non-embarrassing that this card lets you do.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what do we have?
We got one more blue card.
Oh man,
we kind of have one more blue card. This is Ugin's Binding. 2 and a blue for an instant, and it's devoid, so it's colorless blue card. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand, and whenever you cast a colorless spell with mana value 7 or greater, you may exile Ugin's Binding from your graveyard. When you do, return each non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand.
So I've seen different things,
mm-hmm.
and there's some people that are like, "Oh my gosh, it's." I think Aspiring Spike's like you can't spend 3 mana to like bounce a thing in Modern.
Right.
It's too bad. Then like speaking about like then like Doomwake brought it up, and I've seen some other people say something similar. What if you just discard this?
Oh, that's the first thing I thought to do.
Right? Like you could easily play going back to like cookbook shenanigans, right? You like cookbook, get a discard this, get a food.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got 2 artifacts in play.
Yep.
So like you can cast this. You don't have to cast this off of Eldrazi. You can cast this off of our boy Mirror Enforcer again.
Absolutely.
Right? You're just like throw some artifacts on the battlefield, like do the thing I want to do anyway, and then just like play my 0 mana 4/4 and send you back to the Stone Age.
Yep.
Right? It has to be a colorless.
It has to be
colorless,
colorless.
So it has to be. So Sojourner's Companion and Mirror Enforcer.
Yep.
But yeah, like I don't think that's like a huge ask.
Mm-hmm.
And like I know fail case of play a
3 mana bounce spell.
3 mana bounce spell is not what you want to do.
Right.
But having the option to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that's all you ask for in cards is I have the option to do the bad thing.
Yeah.
When the good thing is not something I can.
Right.
And you have the option to do the bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think this card's sweet.
There are a dumb number of like colorless cards.
Yeah.
In this set that like you'd be fine casting, or that like you can play on the cheap.
Yeah. We I think it was in one of the pre-shows we talked about like a mono blue Tron deck.
Mm-hmm.
Coming back. And like you could do that here as well. Karn, Ugin, like they both trigger this.
Yeah, and then you're like playing, and then in that deck, like you could even do the thing of like, I'm not gonna condescend this card because I can just bounce it end of turn.
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, bounce your thing, go, and then next turn I'll counter it on the way down.
Yep.
Or like I'll let it resolve because I'm gonna play Karn and like bounce it.
Yeah.
And so you're just in a situation where like they can't really get ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is like the ideal case for Mono Blue Tron.
Oh yeah.
Then there are the rest of the cases where you are playing Mono Blue Tron.
Sure.
And you're like, oh, like half my mana base is colorless, and I gotta.
I don't even
remember
spells. Like what card we were talking about in the context of Mono Blue Tron, but
yeah, but you're going deep. Like, there are any Zoomers listening to this? They're like, Mono Blue, what? What are you? Like, don't you mean Mono Green? It's like, no. There was a dark time where like a few dedicated.
Yeah, when Tron was unplayable.
Like, yeah, there's a few people that like in the last year would be like on YouTube, or would be on streams and on YouTube being like, give you how many donos to have you play Mono Blue Tron. Like, yeah, like I think there are enough uses for this card where you're like not casting the front half that's bad, right, and you're just like winning the game when you resolve it.
Yep.
Right, like if I told you that like Cyclonic Rift was free, you'd be like, okay, I've got to do some work, but okay, I guess I can live with free Cyclonic Rift.
Sure.
So, yeah, I think this card, it might be overhyped. It might be more of a commander card, but as we've talked about before, how many commander cards where we were like, oh, that's just a commander card, and then it just like took over the format?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Right, all the time. So, like, this is kind of right in that, like, wheelhouse.
Yep.
So, I think we've got 5 black cards in about 10 minutes before the hour. You want to try to get through them?
Yeah. I don't think black's going to take us super long, so we can do that. The first one we have here is a card that I'm sure you're familiar with.
Oh, yeah.
This is Buried Alive, a reprint from Weatherlight. 2 and a black for a sorcery. Search your library for up to 3 creature cards, put them into your graveyard, then shuffle. What sorts of fun can we have with Buried Alive?
So there was a legacy deck that I played briefly that was popularized by Tommy Ashton, which was buried, like you would like, which you can't do in modern, but you would like ritual into a Buried Alive. Go get 3 phoenixes, and then then the phoenixes trigger because you cast 3 spells because you ritualed into it.
Yep.
And then you're attacking for 9 on turn 1.
Seems pretty good.
There was a Magic AIDS video that came out when this was spoiled. You can get a Narcomoeba and 2 prized amalgams.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good.
Because the Narcomoeba says if it goes from your library to your graveyard, doesn't ask how it got there. It can be buried alive.
Yep.
And you can bring it back.
Yep, that's pretty good.
Like, you know, this is Entomb at Home, right? Like, was it Unmarked Gravestone, which was like Entomb for non-legendary creatures for Modern Horizons 2? Like, this is 1 more mana, but like, you know, you can convince me that maybe I want to get like, what is she called? Words are hard. An Atraxa as opposed to an Archon in certain situations.
Yep.
So, like, those are the 2 combo things. I'm sure there's some graveyard shenanigans.
I mean, there's more combos too.
What else we got?
Basically, any of the not the Narcomoeba, the Necrotic Ooze.
Okay, yeah.
Now this isn't going to get you your Necrotic Ooze, but if you have your Ooze, this will set up whatever combo you want to do with Necrotic Ooze.
Right, if there's like a 2-card combo with Necrotic Ooze, right? If you need Necrotic Ooze and 2 things in your graveyard, right? Like you could do this and then have.
I think one of the common things to do with news is Devoted Druid stuff.
Okay. I get, but like
basically
I was thinking,
any of the news combos.
Yeah, but you could get your Necrotic Ooze if you had a way to reanimate it. Right?
Yeah.
So if you had a persist,
Yep.
If you had something like that where you could get it back,
yep.
Like the next turn, you're like turn 3 Necrotic Ooze and friends. Yep. I win the game if my reanimation spell resolves.
Yep. You can also get
1 turn.
I think it's Corpse Knight, Dauntless Bodyguard, and that Cold Snap Knight that you can only play from your graveyard, but then lets you play knights from your graveyard.
Oh yeah. I
mean, that one's like you need a bunch of mana to do that one, but
yeah. Oh no, did not. Only cast graveyard. It did not work.
It's like Hakon or something.
Yeah.
Storm Scourge or
Knight. How many knights are there in Cold Snap?
Stromgold Scourge? I think that's it.
Many...
Hakon Stromgold Scourge.
Stromgold Scourge, yeah.
Scourge, yeah.
Say 1 black 3/3. You may cast Hakon Stromgold from your graveyard, but not from anywhere else. When it's in play, you may play knight cards from your graveyard.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, when it dies, you lose 2 life.
Yeah. But the bodyguard is self-sacrificing.
Mm-hmm.
And with Corpse Knight, that's infinite triggers. Or not infinite,
gotcha.
But you just run yourself out of mana.
Okay. And for the people at home that aren't old, Necrotic Ooze is like 4 mana. And I forget.
Is it 4 or is it 3 mana?
I thought it was 4, but I could be wrong. But when it's in play, it has the abilities of every. It's 4.
Okay.
Has the ability of every creature in the graveyard. So it's 2 black. For as long as the Necrotic Ooze is on the battlefield, it has all activated abilities for all creatures in all graveyards, and it's a 4/3.
Yeah.
So, right, if you can pair the right activated abilities up,
yeah,
you can win. You can win at the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So like you just kind of get the right 3 things, but like you could curve into like Buried Alive, and then Necrotic Ooze for the win.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next up, we have a card that you talked about in the pre-show last week, I think.
Yeah. I like this card.
Yeah.
So this is Marionette Apprentice. It's 1 in the black for a 1/2 human artificer with Fabricate 1. So Fabricate, get a +1/+1 counter, or make a 1/1 servo. And whenever another creature or artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. So this is a Zulapart Cutthroat plus a Disciple of the Vault.
Yep.
Disciple of the Vault is banned in Modern currently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it still is, right?
I think so. I don't remember it coming off.
Yeah, I don't remember it coming off either. So it's funny that they were like, Disciple of Vault being 1 mana is the problem.
Yeah.
Not that it is a problem.
No, it's legal in Modern.
Okay, it is? Okay.
Yeah, it's legal everywhere but Pauper.
It had been banned in Modern, I guess. But like, so this is just kind of like a super
blood artist.
Super blood artist.
Yeah.
Where like now in your words are hard. In your food deck, thank you.
Yep.
Right now you just have like all these artifacts are like you're using them as currency anyway.
Yep.
And now as you're using them from currency, you are getting pings, and like it's a 1/2 or like a 2/3.
Mm-hmm.
So like it like is a, again, not embarrassing blocker.
Right.
And like it might be something where you just like resolve it and win.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe having like 8 of this effect between Disciple and Marionette Apprentice.
Yeah.
Lets you like makes the deck super consistent, so then you're able to play it.
There's no way to like turbo treasures, right?
Well, there is. I don't think. Do we not have it on the list? There's that goblin.
I don't know which goblin you speak of.
It is 2 in a black, and it has sack a creature, make a treasure.
Oh yeah. It's second
like
creature pay life. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
that just combos with this.
Yeah, you just like you need a creature that comes back, but like I guess the finish is like it's like a goblin zombie wizard.
Yeah.
I think is the creature type. So like it just like
You need like
goes
a grave crawler. Yeah.
Yeah, like it just goes like, you know, you can pick any number of uh what's it called? Any number of blood artists to like make that work. But like this gives you a body as well.
Yep.
And like you can get some damage, like you get damage off like the treasures too.
Mm-hmm.
So you like don't have to run yourself like super low on life.
Yeah.
And this is like way less fragile than a blood artist.
Yeah.
So I think this card is fun.
Mm-hmm.
I also like the fact that it calls back to whatever the marionette
master.
Yes, the marionette
Kaladesh,
master.
yeah.
Yes. So I like this card.
I like that the art looks like Skyrim.
Like Skyrim?
Yeah, because like they had those dwarven spiders running around, and like I don't know, it just looks like Skyrim to me.
Okay, I've not played Skyrim in a very long time.
Yeah.
So I will believe you.
I mean, Skyrim's not cartoony, but I don't know. This kind of has like a Skyrim vibe to it. Like if Skyrim was a comic book,
it'd be this.
Yep.
Okay. I just don't remember. I'm old.
It's been a while.
I have
11, 11, 11.
I have a toddler, so I don't remember anything now.
I mean, that was 13 years ago.
God. All right, what's this next card? Because I don't remember this one.
Nadir's Nightblade, 2 and a black for a 1/3 elf warrior. Whenever a token you control leaves the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain a life. The only reason I included it is because it's super similar to the last card. Like a lot of the shenanigans you're going to get up to with the Marionette Apprentice, you can get up to with the Nightblade as well.
I mean, you can basically have one of these at every spot on the curve.
Yeah.
Because is it Mirkwood Bats?
Yeah. Just
Mirkwood
like
Bats.
Marionette Apprentice, this triggers for like treasures and stuff as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mirkwood Bat, whenever you create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses 1 life. So that requires you to sacrifice a token as opposed to leaving some other way.
Right.
But the easiest way for you to get rid of them is to sacrifice them.
Yep.
Yeah, like it seems like if there's a way to like cheese somehow, like ways to like generate tokens like repeatedly, like these will be good. Or just like, hey, I have like, 1 million food.
Right.
And now I'm going to like sack them to a thing.
Yeah. And again, like I don't know if there's a way to like turbo treasures out, but I think treasures, because they have a sack built into them, are pretty easy to do like all this stuff with.
And like sack my treasure to pay for sacking my blood.
Yeah. No, yeah.
There you go. Hey.
There you go.
Okay, I just did 2 or 4.
Yep.
Right? Or like the Lannis decks where you're just like, here's a bunch of tokens, and then there's like, oh gosh, I think there are some ways to like, so there's, what's his name? There is Asmo that lets you sack foods to deal damage, but there are other things that are just like sack tokens, sack some trinkety artifact to get an effect. So like you just build up enough of the things and then play like
Anvil.
your anvil or whatever, and just like kill them.
You want to take this next bad boy?
Yeah, so this is Necrodominance. It is black for a legendary enchantment. Skip your draw step. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay any amount of life. If you do draw that many cards, your maximum hand size is 5. If a card or token will be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead.
You know what I just realized about this card?
What?
That's Croxa.
Oh, is it Croxa? I guess there is like
got the big belly mouth and the chains.
Okay. I had not noticed that. I did notice like the weird like mouth thing.
Yeah, pretty sure that's Croxa.
Could it be Grave Titan? The chains don't make sense.
Grave Titan had belly zombies, not belly mouth.
Fair. Okay. So I went like I had looked this up. It was like up when I like sat down. So I had like Necropotence up because I was trying to figure out what are the differences between this card and Necropotence.
This is legendary.
This is legendary.
But
I don't think that matters.
To be fair, like having multiple Necropotences in play doesn't do anything extra.
Yes. All right. So they both say skip your draw step.
They do.
So Necropotence says whenever you would discard a card, exile that card from your graveyard. So this exiles any card that would go to your graveyard, not just ones you discarded.
Yep.
So like it makes it so you can't kind of like loop stuff from your graveyard.
Right.
Right. So kind of a like fix, let's make it safer there kind of space. And then Necro is pay 1 life, exile the top card of your library face down, put that card into your hand at the beginning of the next end step. So here you can pay the life whenever.
Right.
As opposed to being locked into paying it at the end of your turn.
Does that actually matter though?
Not really. I don't think that really matters. It's like a distinction without a difference.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you pay 7 life during your second main phase to exile 7 cards and then put them in your hand at the beginning of your end step, versus like at the beginning of your step paying 7 life. I think the biggest distinction is like a pro and a con is the fact that you draw that many cards.
Right.
So like it's bad against Bowmaster and Shieldred.
But it's also good if you have your own Shieldred.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like, you know, you win some, you lose some. And then your max hand size is 5. People are like, oh, it's so terrible. It's like
it's irrelevant.
Yes, you would like prefer to have 7 cards. But I think you would rather have 5 really good cards than like 7 okay cards. Right? So like the play pattern with Necropotence was I'm going to hit the button and put like I have 4 cards in my hand. I'm going to hit the button 7 times. And I'm going to put 7 cards in my hand. I'm going to discard 4 cards, but I'm going to keep the best 7.
Right.
So maybe here, you're like, I have 4 cards. I'm going to hit the button 5 times. 3 times, right? And then I'm going to like discard the like 3 or 4 cards or whatever, 2 or 3 cards, and keep like the 5 cards that can like win me the game in a turn or 2. Right? And so like losing the 2 cards matters. You would much rather have 7 cards than 5.
Right.
But like I think the way that Necro gets used is like to refill and to sculpt. And this is going to let you refill and sculpt.
Yep.
Right? One of the best decks in like one of the most broken formats in Magic, Timeless, is just like I'm going to Dark Ritual into Necro and then make a crazy good hand and then storm off next turn. Right? This lets you do kind of the same thing.
Yep.
Right? So like in like unlike turn 1, like unlike turn 1 and turn 2, like you can have a lot of like one thought seizes, kind of run your opponent out of cards, even be like at a card disadvantage.
Yeah, because you know you got to refill.
Yeah, you're like, I'll grief you, I'll do this. I'm down to like 1 card, Necro, go up, pay 7 life.
Yep.
Go down to 5 cards. You're plus 5 cards. And then you're just like, I'll figure it out. From this
you got
5.
all the resources to do that.
Yeah. So like, while it is fixed Necro, it seems like it's too much Necro.
Still Necro.
You know what I mean? Like maybe I'm just
they even
interpreting
kept the
wrong.
Necro.
They even kept the name.
Yep. No, I don't think
like,
you're reading it wrong. That's basically the way I read it.
And like no one's talking about it. They're just like, I think they're all looking at like, oh, your maximum hand size is 5. That's so bad. It's like, it doesn't matter. You drew 5 cards. It's a 5 for 1. If you want to like be like, oh, well, you skip your draw. It's a 5 for 2.
Right.
For 3 mana. And like, we lost our mind over a 2-for-1 for 2 mana in Expressive Iteration.
Right.
That was like conditional. This is like a 5-for-2.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get that unless you cast Wrath of God.
I mean, this is harder to cast than Expressive Iteration is, though.
It is. It is. I guess it like, maybe it has to be like in some sort of mono black deck.
Yeah.
Or
yeah. Either
or like
mono black with a really light splash, maybe.
Or I mean, the mana is good enough in Modern that you could like, you know.
Although I guess 4 Urborgs go a long way also.
For Urborg, I'm not gonna be upset.
Urborg.
There we go. For that card,
Yep.
but like, if you're like some sort of red-black storm deck, right? 4 Black Cleave Cliffs, 4 Blood Crypts,
yeah,
right? Like your fetch lands, like 2 of like, what is it, Raucous Theater, the like Surveil land,
yeah,
right? And it's not like it exiles your graveyard when it comes into play.
right.
So like, if you have some way to like recur the cards that are already in your graveyard, like, you still get to like do the thing. So like, that's not terrible. So I guess like there's not the like storm payoff where like, you know, where you can just like tendril someone.
Right.
Right. But like, you know, if you have the setup and then like get the 5 cards, it's kind of what is Bryant Cook has recently referred to Galvanic Relay as Red Necro.
Yeah.
Right. You put the cards on layaway, you get them next turn, and with those cards, you try to win the game. Now, granted, you can get 10 cards, but like a Galvanic Relay for 5 often just wins the game.
Yeah. Well, I just had a thought though, because you have a round of priority in between drawing your cards and discard. Like, you're still in your end phase. So, like, is there something you can do where if you draw 15 cards,
like instant speed, like kill
yeah,
someone?
Yeah.
Maybe you just like, so let's see, like thinking of like broken cards. So like Goryo's Vengeance is an instant.
What's the old primetime kill? Was it primetime? No, not primetime. Where you threw lands at people.
Berberigmos.
No, there's a red spell that lets you throw lands.
Seismic Assault?
No, although I guess that would work also.
Your red card into your black card. We did it. We did it. Best mana base ever.
No, isn't there like a card? I want to say it's from Cold Snap that lets you like copy it if you discard a land.
Oh, Lightning Storm.
Lightning Storm, that's the one.
Oh, that is a good. You could just like. So we don't have Spirit Cut anymore. Rest in peace.
Right.
Good buddy. But like, yeah, I guess you could just like. I mean, it's kind of just like ad nauseum at that point.
Yeah.
But I mean, it happened sooner.
Right.
I guess you could like. So, Angel's Grace is until the end of your turn. So like, you could just Angel's Grace and Necro yourself off the planet.
Well, no,
and not die.
Because you can't pay life that you don't have.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, you can't lose the game.
But you can't. So you can't pay the resource if you don't have it to pay.
Okay. So you couldn't pay like 40.
No.
Because what's it called? Ad nauseum. It just like tries to ping you.
Yeah.
And then it can't.
Yeah.
Because you can't die. You can keep being damaged, but okay. I don't know if you would have enough lands to Lightning Storm.
Yeah, maybe not.
You know what I mean? Because you need You would need 7 lands. Right, you would need Lightning Storm and 7 lands.
Yeah.
Really, like 8, I think, in case your opponent had a land. So I'm not sure.
I was just making sure it was an instant. It is.
It is.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you don't have Mana Monkey to like
to make it happen.
Make it happen. But like I could see like where you get the cards and then next turn kind of go in.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Was a thought.
Yeah.
You could also there's stuff to let you play at instant speed as well.
There has to be something. Like I don't know, like I don't think this card is enough worse than Necropotence to be like, yeah, Necro is banned in Legacy, but this will be fine.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, like, you know, Necro is restricted in Vintage. This
completely
okay
fine
by us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like, is it like 70% or whatever 5/7 of Necro is?
I think it's more than that.
Right? Like, yeah, like it's more than that, and it's just I don't know. It just seems like if it doesn't do something in Modern, it just seems like it's gonna be like bonkers in like Legacy.
Yeah.
Where they'd be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't try to reprint banned cards and try to fix them.
Hey, I'm waiting for the Modern Legal LED.
I wonder how they would do that, because like LED is like pretty fixed and it's still busted.
Yeah. You can't fix Black Lotus any more than that.
Then you have 3 mana and no cards in hand.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fine. I got to figure it out. Don't worry. All right. So
we got one more card in black here.
All right. What do we got?
And it's a card that we're both familiar with. So my question isn't like, what are use cases? It's this card is good enough for Modern. And this is a Toxic Deluge. 2 and a black for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, pay X life. All creatures get neg X till end of turn.
So like the format's more aggressive than like Legacy. Like this saw some Legacy play. It's more aggressive than Legacy. So like your life matters more.
Yep.
But
it also means it probably sweeps up more.
Well, I was gonna say, like, what about like Death Shadow?
Yeah.
You're just like, you get a 1/1 Death Shadow or 2/2, you pass the turn, it lives, and then you're just like, toxic, put myself to like 2, kill you.
Well, no, because the Death Shadow would get neg X also.
Oh yeah. I guess it would get.
Yeah.
It would get, so it would stay. It would stay a 1/1 size. Oh, womp womp. Never mind. No, I'm sad. But I guess like before you play the Death Shadow, like sweep up your board.
Yeah, sweep up the board, play Death Shadow.
Go, Death Shadow lives, and then you win the game.
Yeah.
Like with like there's enough creatures that are like kind of weird mana costs or like weird sizing that like a lot of other sweepers don't get them.
Yeah.
And like at 3 mana, this is like kind of the most efficient like sweeper.
Well, I mean, it also tags indestructible stuff. It tags like it kills things that normal sweepers wouldn't kill either. Kills like sticky threats.
Yeah, but your opponent goes like Leyline of the Guild Pact, Wild Nacatl, Scion of Draco. Right, you can just like pay for life and kill their like hexproof life, like they're all their like threats that you could like in no other way interact with. Right, you can't play temporary lockdown and get all of them.
Yep.
Right, no one plays Bantu's Last Reckoning. right? Like I don't know, like if in like, you know, if you could have like like a blue-white control deck where you like have access to this.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we kind of like there was another white card that is kind of similar to this that we didn't talk about, the Energy Wrath.
Oh yeah.
So it's like white,
X.
X, and you get X energy, and then you can pay any amount of energy to kill things mana value X or less.
Yeah.
So like, where it can kind of be like for smaller things, like mana value wise, like it can kind of do like a toxic deluge impression if you have energy going on. But like for those things that it's like they like dump a bunch of mirror enforcers on the battlefield, right? Like you can't get to, you're not gonna get to 9 mana or 9 energy, kind of like in like a reasonable time frame that like these don't kill you.
Right.
Where like toxic, you're like, well, if I don't pay 4 life, I'm gonna take 12 damage next turn. So it'd be dumb for me to not pay 4.
Right.
And
well,
like,
especially
myself,
against that deck, you're gonna shrink all the constructs too and end up tagging them at the same time.
So I don't know. Like, I think that it could be a situation where, like, especially in like some sort of control deck, where again your life is a resource.
Yeah.
Right. Like just the mana efficiency of like, turn 3, kill like 2 or 3 of your things. Could be like, quite good. Yeah, could be good enough. Could like get the job done.
Yep.
So like, it's hard because it might not be good. Like the life might be too much, but I think there's a home for it somewhere. And it's just wild. Like again, like my boomer magic is showing, right? Like imagine when, like, remember when Toxic Deluge was like good in Legacy? And like it was like, oh man, this card's like so like would be so oppressive in Modern.
Yeah.
And now we're like, will it see play? And it's like 7 years ago, it was like, oh man, like this is just ridiculous. Like, they paid 3 mana and 3 life and killed 4 things. Now they'd have to pay 3 mana and like 5 life.
Yeah.
And like that might be the difference, right? Like the fact that things have like, due to power creep, things have gotten a little bit bigger.
Yeah. Maybe the life cost is too much now.
Yeah, like to get the same effect, you're having to pay an extra 2 or 3 life. And so now like that 3 mana and 5 life isn't the same deal.
Yeah.
All right. So we said we were going to go an hour. We lied. We were an hour 20.
Things happen.
We got too deep into black cards.
Yep.
As
you do.
As you do. Secretly the best color.
I agree.
Take that, blue. We let people get the ETB triggers on their creatures, and then we kill them.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. You don't let them get their ETB triggers. So, like, powerful cards in here, and like I said, we kept kind of referring to like, hey, there's this other card in this set that we didn't talk about that's really good. There's a lot of really good stuff in here.
Yeah.
And so if you have some cards you want us to talk about in the next week,
let us know.
I guess I should say, like, with that, we got a show. Now, if you have things that you want us to talk about next week, for like red, green, multicolor, colorless, let us know. If there's like some card that we missed that you're like, oh my god, why didn't you talk about blah 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 blah? We might be able to circle back and be like, oh yeah, we forgot about that one.
Yep.
Because there are like 230 something odd cards or whatever.
A lot.
And there's so many of them that are bright and shiny that you can't like.
Yep.
So Facebook, Discord, Twitter, email, all that stuff. Reach out, let us know what's going on.
Yeah, hit us up. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what cards you want to hear about. Give us show ideas.
Please.
If you're looking to support us, 2 ways you can do it. The first is with our TCG player affiliate link, CasualTryHard.com/TCG. Surf on over there, do your shopping, and support the show at the same time. The second is with Patreon, patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG. If you want to support us directly without having to give anybody else money, you can do so at Patreon. Patrons get access to our show notes, so you get a sneak peek about what the upcoming show is going to be about. You also get access to twice the content out of us because we publish a pre-show every week just for our patrons. If any of that sounds good, or if you just want to support us, like I said, patreon.com/CasualTryHardMTG.
All right. So with that, we'll catch you on the internets.
We will catch you on the internets.